Hello, this video is going to be a photographer's behind the scenes look at the South African mountain bike cross-country championships held a while back at the Spice Route Trails in Paarl in the Western Cape here in South Africa. I'm going to take you through some of my photographs from the day, show you what happened, my thoughts on things, how the weather changed, all the dramas I had with equipment, just your average day. This event was split into 3 days. The first day was the short course, and then the second day was the proper cross-country, and the third day was the cross-country for the vets and masters men and women, as well as a fun ride for the kids. So this was on day one, which, typical for Paarl, was incredibly hot, because in Paarl it's either incredibly hot or incredibly wet, and this one was... don't know what time it was taken. Let me see. Yeah, 12:10 in the afternoon. So it was midday. Cracking heat. This young woman is under a sunshade, warming up for the first race. Here we are trying to set the scene with some of the younger riders, having a chat before their race on the short course. Still very, very hot. This was actually, I quite like this shot. It's on an indoor trainer, sitting outside behind the vineyard loading area, and all the pallets and her little water bottle sitting sideways because the only way it would fit, but doing a little bit of a slow shutter speed to get some motion in her feet and in the wheels. So I thought it actually worked out quite well. Another one of you see she's got a towel over her shoulders, a damp towel to keep her cool, and chatting to a trainer prior to the race. And this was race one. Always nice to catch a little bit of action at the start. They came off the start line, turned sharp left, and came straight at me. And it was quite a ding-dong battle between these two. Can't remember who the guy on the right is. Okay, Nadia van Beek on the left and Madison Bateson on the right. And it was a cracker with, I believe, Madison winning eventually. This is Candice Lill, South African champion. Obviously, you're going to get as many photos of her as you possibly can. Both for the organisers and for stock photography. And the organisers in this case were overloaded with photographs of her, I think, after the race. And here she is, Candice again in the air. There's something I've always noticed about her is that she'll only go as fast as necessary, take no risks to damage the bike or catch a puncture. It's just enough. And it's a joy to watch. She's super, super smooth. It's not a bad photo. One of the issues I had when I took this photo is that the sky is a lot lighter than Candice was. And so she would come out as a dark silhouette. So a little bit of Lightroom magic, and we can bring out the shadows and bring out the subject and darken the sky a little bit and end up with a reasonably balanced photograph. Same story with this one, but I prefer that actually this one to the one I took of Candice, because there's two riders. It shows that there's a race going on, and there's definitely some commitment on those two riders. Again, Candice, a nice little panning shot, 80th of a second, aperture f13, just to get the exposure down a little bit. And these are always fun shots to take, but they do tend to fill up your memory card because you're shooting at 30 frames a second. This course at the Spice Route in Paarl is actually quite a steep one. It's probably the steepest one we shoot all year. Here in the Western Cape, and as a photographer you get to carry a lot of heavy equipment up a lot of hills. Anyway, here you can see the start of one of the younger races, and this corner was fantastic because on day one it was so dry and so dusty, and it was a very innocuous looking corner, and as you can see it was catching people out. There's a few photos like this, you'll see them as we go. There's the second one, foot down, dust everywhere. Poor woman in the background about to get covered in the stuff. And this one, you can see that front wheel is about to go under, and he's about to go over, and can't remember his name, William Guy. So William the guy is about to do that, and unfortunately for him, I was there while he did it, and so there it is, preserved for posterity. And another one, it was lethal. The next day it was a lot better. And these shots I love. Get down low, get a group of people coming at you like a little worm of riders, and they just come flying past, going brrr, as mountain bikes do. And classic photo. I love this foot out concentration. No panic, just had it all under control and carried on, had good result. And Alan Hathley. So if you're going to have Candice Lill as the South African champion in the women's division, you're always going to have Alan Hathley. But he's a joy to watch. He's also a super smooth rider, and I guess that's the hallmark of all the top riders. They're smooth and they take no risks. And this was day 2. As I say, in Paarl, the weather's always beautiful until it isn't, and it wasn't on the Saturday. It bucketed down. Grip was at an all-time minimum for the cyclist and for me. This is Candice giving it a go. And again, you can see the where her wheels have been over the ground. You can see it's drying out a little bit, but it was soon to change. And always good to have an environmental shot. I think, like this one, put the rider in the place in nature and in the race. And I enjoy these. Just coincidentally, that is Candice again. And again, you can see how in the braking zone the clay and the wet sand has been removed, and it's dry there, but it's a little bit lethal because you go from the dry stuff straight onto the slippery clay, and it caught a few people out. But it gives you some idea of the treachery and the steepness of the course. In fact, just behind Candice, the only way I could get up there was to go through the bushes on my hands and knees and drag myself up because it was just too slippery to walk on. And again, putting riders in the environment, showing the scenery and the beauty of the place. And I love shots like this. I could take those all day. And this is a shot. I like this. It's young Janae Smith coming through a canopy of branches and foliage, and a little bit of a vignette around to draw the eye into her as a rider. And at this stage, it's starting to pour with the rain, as you can see. I shot this at 1/800th of a second. So it slightly elongates the raindrops so you can see them, but it's not so slow that the rider's just a blur. And you can see already she's got her sunglasses off and tucked into a camelback, and it's now treacherous for everybody out there. In fact, this was an area right at the top of the highest climb where it was impossible to ride. Maybe 10% of the riders got it right. The rest of them were slipping and sliding and falling all over the place. And I, in fact, I don't know if you can see over here, I slid from that side, fell on my butt, straight across this path, totally out of control, and then down the embankment on the other side, much to the amusement of some of the riders who saw it happen. And this is Annemarie van Toorn. Annemarie van Toorn, as you can see, she's had a little bit of a blipsy on her face, so some blood flowing there, a little bit of claret, but she's a champion. She finished. Here we go, pouring with rain. It got so bad that I came down from the mountain at this stage because one of my cameras had died. It had decided that it was no longer going to do continuous autofocus, but only focus on one point as a single point, and that's no good if you're shooting sports. So I had to come down and start manually focusing and trying all sorts of things to try and solve that problem. But I struggled on with it, and these are some of the shots we got, even with a camera that was happily dying. And how's that? Cami Maria just sending it. It's a joy to watch this youngster. And that's the berm that everyone was falling off on. It's miraculously better. You see there's no dust, there's no fish. It's just a lovely sticky surface, and there was plenty of grip. I'm sitting here underneath the gazebo from the timekeepers, and I wasn't going anywhere. It was way too wet to be taking expensive equipment out into that weather. Start of the race, bang, chain broken. Luckily the technical zone was about 100 meters away from the race start, so he could go in there and dig around in the cool box between the beers, I guess, and find a magic link for that chain. But he got going again. This one I love. I was up in an elevated position, and the guys were coming through, and the light when it's raining and cloudy, and you got to work for it. We're at 1,000th of a second at ISO 1000, but the colours and the light are just exquisite. And this was super slippery log drop, which the guys were coming over, and it was pouring with rain. Hats off to them for their bravery, because I wouldn't have ridden over this stuff. Look at that, full on sideways. He's almost out of control, but he kept it, and good for him. A lot of skill there. Here we go again. You can see the mud and the drivetrain is just dying, and the bike shops are rubbing their hands in glee, because that's an expensive fix the next day. This is how little control there was, that he came over there, slid in a rock, bang into the bank, and mud flying everywhere. But it actually didn't stop him. He carried on. In fact, it didn't even slow him down by more than about 3 or 4 seconds. Okay, and that's what happens when you get in the mud. Some days you just got to run it, rather than slip and slide and run off the side of the trail. I like the shot, though. It shows how difficult and why it's so difficult to cleat in once you've got mud all over the bottom of your shoes, because it's just clogged. Another environmental shot, but showing the course and how well it's laid out. And it really is beautifully laid out. The Paarl trails, you have to go visit them if ever you're in Paarl. It's a pleasure to ride there, and a pleasure to photograph there. Another quick slurp. There you can see a nice environmental shot of the guys coming down from the hill and eventually up onto the pump track, which was used in the short course the day before, and the race village in the background. Add a little bit of a vignette, a ride through the canopy of the green stuff, and you got a lovely little photograph, and still pouring with rain. On this one, you can see the weather slowly improving, a little bit of blue sky peeking through. So Johan van Zyl, one of the riders who was skillful enough to ride up here, because most couldn't. It was incredibly treacherous and slippy. As I say, impossible to walk, and I slid down that embankment earlier in the day. This is what I'm talking about, just nothing. The moment you come off the power, or you haven't got enough cadence going, you're gonna drop your bike, and you're gonna push it for quite a way. Makes a great photo though. Another environmental shot showing the race village, bottom of the pump track, and the technical zone on the bottom. These photos are actually quite invaluable to the race organisers and the venue. And this is quite interesting. This was a rock garden at the top, and the theory here was that a lot of the riders were getting punctures in this rock garden because of the sharp edges on the granite slabs. You can see there, because it's quite close to an old granite quarry. So between races, the course directors and the race organizer up there with pickaxes taking off the sharp edges. And this shot was taken about 10 seconds before the riders came screaming over the ridge. So it was a good job by them. And it's nice to see them take into consideration what the riders are saying and to work on it. And here they come through the rock garden. It's quite a blast. And they weren't hanging around. Again, what a beautiful environmental shot. He says so modestly, but you can see it's got the whole Paarl Valley and the rocks on the background and everything, and the light is really nice because it's overcast, so this massive diffuse softbox coming from the sky. I was very lucky. Try and put the riders in the place where they're riding, and here we're on a wine farm, so let's show that they're growing Shiraz, and there's 2.40 hectares of it. I don't know what that is in square meters or anything else, but it sounds like a lot. It's a lot of wine, that's for sure, because there's a lot of grapes. This sort of shot just makes it for me. With this one, you can see the sun is finally starting to shine through the vineyards, and the autumn colours are great. They were beautiful. Unfortunately, we only get those autumn colours for about 2 weeks a year, if that. But when you get them and it's overcast like this, well, that's the sort of photo you end up with. And this is where it's very easy to take your eye off the ball, because I assumed that Johan van Zyl, who was in the lead here, was going to win the race, so I concentrated on him. Meanwhile, right behind him is, I can't remember who it is. Let's just have a look. There's Michael Foster. Michael Foster. Yeah, so just behind Johan van Zyl there is Michael Foster, who I thought was going to come a very close second, but not overtake Johan. And I was very wrong, because Johan had a problem, and all of a sudden Michael was in the lead, and I had the problem where I didn't have any photographs of the guy, except for this one, because luckily I snapped it as he came past, but I certainly wasn't concentrating on him, and I got out of jail on that one, certainly, because imagine they're like the elite cyclist, and I don't have a photograph of the winner. So don't take your eye off the ball. Then they drop down onto the pump track again, and that's when the skills came out, and they were having some fun, and they always make some great photos. I guess, I mean, look at that. There's a man who knows how to ride a bike. And again, a little bit of a tail whip. and over the jumps. And even bigger, but even better, because now the bike's facing towards me. So great for the manufacturers of that bike, and a great photograph for the rider. The boys were playing now, and these are the big boys. These are the pros, or the elites. They're elite because they're elite. I guess they know how to do this. And that was and those are the images I have from the South African Mountain Cross Country Championships. I hope you enjoyed that. I'm going to be making a lot more of these on Triathlon, Ironman, all the events that I shoot. I'll try and do them on a weekly basis, or as I shoot, and I'll certainly bring out some of the photos from the old stuff I've done. If you've enjoyed it, click on the like. If you want to see more, click on the subscribe, because otherwise you're not going to know that I've done them. And we'll go from there. Thanks very much for joining me. Testing, testing. I have a Polish girlfriend and a Czech one too. A Czech one too.
On the web.
Shut up.